the official beers that we're looking at.
I don't. Can you just sit on the keg instead?
You can't sit on a keg again this week.
I think you should though.
The poppet keeps ending up in weird places, and this chair is so squeaky. Wait a second, guys.
What?
Our patrons. I forgot. Our Patreon stools are here.
They are?
Yeah, screw these chairs.
Fuck these
Get
chairs.
rid of these chairs. God damn it.
Holy
Patreon
crap.
stools have arrived. Patreon stools. New chairs.
Oh, thank you so much against the grain. I'm ready to
Sit your ass
Sit
down.
my ass down.
Wow. This was a genuine reaction and not planned.
In my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. My name is John Ronayne. I'm joined this evening by the other two members of the Louisville Ale Trail. That's Michael Moeller and David Satterley.
Hi.
We're here this evening to talk to you guys about the latest and greatest in kind of Louisville and regional beer happenings, trends, what we've been drinking, what we've been trying, what we've been into. Beer-wise, I don't know what you guys have been into otherwise, and I don't want to keep it that way.
Cocktails.
We can talk about that.
But first, we will, as you guys saw in the intro, give a big shout out to our patrons on Patreon. For last upgrade was the audio equipment from you guys. We hope you are noticing and appreciating the improved quality of the audio. And this week, the eternal... thank you, David. Please adjust your mic while I talk about the...
It's right in my face. I can't
mine's
see
a little hot too,
anything.
so I'll lower it a little down while you're doing that too.
All right, let's
all
do
adjust
this.
the mics.
Let's all just all do this.
This
all
is
just
for
do
you,
this right now. Why not?
patrons. Thank you. This is the
it's right.
quality that you've come to expect.
No, it's for everybody. Everybody gets this right now.
You pay for this face.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the second upgrade, which we just teased in the intro, is new chairs. So that's been a problem that's plagued us since time immemorial. The little squeaky chairs that we have in here in the homebrew shop. But could we all just do a little wiggle to hear the audio silence?
Can't even hear it.
Nothing. Radio silence.
And if you want to see that wiggle,
Yeah, come to our Patreon. But seriously, everybody who has been supporting us, thank you so much. Our goal with this whole project, Kentucky Commons Radio Hour and Louisville Ale Trail and all the other stuff that we have our tangled tentacles into, is just to show off Louisville and to show off the beer community that exists here. And that really is you guys. So thank you very much. And we really, really do appreciate everybody who helps and listens and shares and gives us 5 stars on whatever podcast platform they're listening to this on right now. With all that aside, let's start with what we're drinking this week. And I was at the liquor store earlier today, as one is, and I was just perusing the beer cave. And on our last podcast, if anybody listened to that, our guest, Nathan Molesky, famous Wisconsinite, or Wisconsinian, I can't remember what he told me was the correct verbiage.
Wisconsinite.
Yeah, we were answering Reddit questions, and one of the questions was, what's the most like rednecky beer out there? Busch Light was the kind of thing that we all kind of came to. And Nathan made a crack about Busch Latte, which I thought was just like a play on words, which I guess is. It's just kind of a joke people make about it. When I was there, I learned that Busch has actually leaned into this and made tall boy 16-ounce aluminum cans with a screw-off lid of Busch Latte. So
that tall boy is 24 ounces.
Oh, okay. So
it's just a regular.
These are just regular. And a
Kind
funny
of
shape.
tall boy.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I knew that the Busch Latte they embraced the meme culture of it, but it's really funny. This is one of the first times I've looked at this, and it actually have to point it out.
Mhm.
Does not contain dairy or coffee.
Yeah. They leaned into that on the box too. So, and I will say, after having had a Busch Latte, and after having us, after we kind of ragged on it a little bit last week as the most red ink beer, it's great.
All right, I'll crack one open. And see what
Yeah,
happens.
like, give us your tasting notes, Michael.
There's nothing wrong with being a redneck.
No, there's nothing. It's in fact the backbone of this country. What do you think?
Smells like
I thought it was hard work in your bootstraps that you're supposed to pull yourself up by.
That's country music, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. I don't care. It's not my
All right.
favorite.
So in addition to the Busch Latte, which is really just a callback to last week's episode, in case you guys didn't catch that, and just because I will say this 15-pack costs like $8. So beer inflation world, not a bad move.
Do you think it's better or worse to chug this?
Well,
It's got to be cold.
yeah, that's entirely
Like,
true.
warm Busch Lattes, foul.
And it depends on what your goals are.
Because I just took like a big swig of it, and I regretted that big swig. So now I'm just like, do I just want to finish it all at once
Dude,
to
I've
get
had,
over with? Or
I've had
sip
2
on
of
it?
these. The third one tastes way better than the first one.
Is this just a giant Underberg bottle where you like it's not to be sipped, it's to be taken
get it
all at
down.
once because it's of its aromatic?
That is what the
bitters.
shape would lead you to believe. That, yeah, kind of like vortex thing.
Very slim.
Underbush, if you will.
All right, what else are we drinking this week, guys? Let's not talk about Busch Latte too much. This is the other beer I was excited for us to talk about. One of the newer, not the newest, but close to Louisville breweries is Hometown Brewing. Right down the street from us here. We actually, I think we can tease this at least, are working on a collaboration with them for our Legend series releases. So for those of you who have been following along with those, we'll have some more details to share about that soon, but it's kind of a version of one of the homebrew recipes we've done here in the shop for years and years and years and developed with our customers. Our mission was to kind of make a beer that could maybe be incorporated into a novelty pizza. So we'll share more details with you about that, but we're going to go ahead and brew it with them in a couple weeks. And then we'll have a big release party where we share all that stuff. But in the meantime, we do have some other beer from them that they started canning. I've seen this popping up in Kroger. I've seen this popping up, obviously, all over their social media and in the tap room. But tell us about this beer. Whoever has the inside scoop.
It's a pale ale, just a pretty simple pale ale, American
It's their
pale ale,
Longbody ale.
long body. And to that point, yeah, you can find it in a few of their different craft house locations that they have around town, select Kroger locations. But where you might see it the most is where the general population might see it most is Lynn Family Stadium during Lou City FC or racing games.
Oh, I actually didn't even connect that. The whole like can should be screaming that to me, but the colors and the like branding, it's all the same.
I
as
don't know
the-
if that was
It's like,
intentional.
yeah,
Okay.
semi-intentional.
Okay,
branding.
well, I dig it. I just made the connection after you said that, so it's good marketing.
Purple and gold, kind of like the Lou City colors. But
Yeah.
like a simple American pale ale, clocks in a little higher at 6.5 or 6.7%, but also served in an amazing 16-ounce can, which
Yeah.
is the appropriate volume for beer.
Cascade hops and that's about all the information I got out of it.
So it's kind of like,
but
it's a from my understanding, it's kind of like a smash beer, like Cascade, single malt, like easy drinking.
it's the first time I've ever had a hometown beer out of a can. Though.
Me too, actually. Yeah, let's try it. I've had this beer before.
One of my favorite things to do recently, especially, is to actually just go to Hometown on Preston Highway. It is now Craft House Pizza with Hometown Brewing. But to go in there, and I always feel like right now that it's really hot outside, and their AC is perfect.
Nice.
And
Unlike you're in the shop right now.
Yeah.
Ours is working as hard as it can.
and just like the bar is really nice. Like it's a nice material bar. It's very reflective, which is kind of cool. And it's kind of dark over by the bar too. Like it's a well restaurant, but like over by the bar, it's a little bit darker. The color is a little bit more black and gray. And I just feel like I'm hiding from the heat.
Heck yeah.
In this
Beer
tap room.
cave. Yeah. I've probably told this story on the podcast before, but the last time I got carry out from Hometown, from Craft, what's the restaurant named?
Craft House Pizza.
They've
now.
just been in the process of rebranding all this, and I am old, so it's going to take me a while. But I sat at the bar, ordered some stuff to go, drank a couple beers. The guy next to me was 20 years my senior, and just started telling me about like how him and his wife had traveled all across the country. Now he lives in Louisville, and like how he really doesn't really understand what all this kind of new beer stuff is about, but he really does like the beer. You have these conversations with people, and Hometown's one of those places where it's very it's a very eclectic. It's the beer nerds and beer snobs are not their like primary demographic.
Which is perfect.
Yeah,
That's fine.
exactly.
Because you
Exactly.
need that. And the beer's, great.
It's great.
It's just good to have out. I personally think that beer and pizza go together fantastically.
You think so?
Yeah.
That could be a thing. We could do like beer and pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, they are the first to innovate that for sure.
None of the other places around the entire
Louisville doesn't
world.
have Louisville breweries don't have pizza. What are you talking about?
Some of them do. But it's always a good addition. I will just throw out a plug. The lunch special is a banger.
Yeah.
Basically get like a pizza, a small salad, and beer for like
10,
12
12? Yeah.
10, 12
Not
bucks.
a banger if you want to have a productive afternoon. But
John, you're supposed to have
It's Saturday,
one
you know?
beer with the special.
the pizza gets me more than the beer. Three beer lunch, I'm good, but throw pizza into the mix. That's it for me.
You know, I will say I'm not saying it's going to happen every week, but on Wednesdays, which is when we record, we've on the Louisville Ale Trail social media, we've been doing these beer features of the week, and they're based on a couple different factors. It could be a new release that we're really excited about, but it could also just be something that we know is always readily available and could be picked up multiple locations, or just maybe just something that's a little bit easy drinking. And today was the Longbody Ale that we posted about. So I figured, because I had these cans anyway, why not bring them in? We don't see them in cans that often, or rather, I mean, I just haven't brought them in before for the show or for the meetings. So I thought it was kind of fun time.
Yeah, and this can tie back into a segment later in the show, but this does remind me of just that kind of more old school, like American Pale Ale. It's got a malt character
it's very
to it.
old school.
Yeah, it's got like some kind of darker melanoid and Maillard reaction, kind of like caramelly kind of
Did you
things
say
going
Maillard?
on.
Maillard.
Millionard?
Yeah,
Maillard.
caramelization.
You own a homebrew shop.
How do you pronounce it?
Maillard.
Whatever, dude. No, I'm talking about something else. Something you don't even know about. It's like extra science.
Oh, it's like a mallard.
Science 2.0.
I told you I've had 3 Busch Lattes already. All right, so give me a break.
Wow, you're really hydrated.
Yes. But no, this is cool, and it's nice to see. They did also the Cumberland Red Ale, so they kind of do have like a tie back to just the kind of historic essence of these kind of American beers.
Well, the owners have also lived in Louisville for several years. I mean, they're not like new to the city. This isn't a new venture. I think there was just an interest in beer.
Yeah.
If we want to touch on the Red Ale real quick, I mean, that was a throwback to Cumberland Brewing on Bartown Road, kind of in the heart of the Highlands. And in its heyday, it was like one of the earliest craft beer joints.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about it before.
I was going to say, if you want to go back 4 months on the podcast, you can hear this
we
story.
have. But that throwback to the Cumberland Red, which they recreated, and I think they called it...
They called it Cumberland
Red,
yeah.
That was a throwback to one of the original brewers there. So the investment in the community's there, long-standing, and I hope that they continue to package, because it's really cool to be able to go in and see a new label and new company out on the shelves.
They have a solid team though too. Not to just keep singing the praises of them, but like
they came out to the craft beer throwdown at Mile Wide. Their whole team was out. They had their little spin wheel.
Whenever you see them, they're usually like 5 of them are all together. Not like they don't always need to be there. Like not all of them need to be there, and they're always just so happy. Like just joyous, you know.
They almost won an axe throwing tournament.
Yeah, second place, right? First loser.
Third?
Oh, third, whatever. I can't remember these things.
Second. No, it was second. Sorry. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they
almost.
Yeah. Yeah, they it was down to the wire.
Well, people ask us a lot, like, where are the places I should go in Louisville that I haven't been, and so that's one place to recommend if you've not tried it yet, to go down Preston Highway, right by the highway, and check out Hometown Brewing Company. Speaking of questions that people ask us, we sometimes like to even go further afield to try to answer beer-related questions, so much so that we have scoured the internet. Michael Mueller actually took the lead on this earlier today. We did a segment last week answering some questions from our beer, the beer subreddit, and we thought that was a lot of fun. We got some good feedback on it from the listeners, so we thought we'd revisit that this week. I'll say a preface at the beginning. If you guys have random beer questions, or apparently like relationship advice needs, send us we're here. Send us an email, send us a DM, or if you guys are one of our patrons, just shoot us a message via Patreon and we'll work that in. But what are the people, where does our wisdom,
inquiring minds wanting to know?
Yeah, we did this last week. I thought it was fun to bring up again. Not sure if it's going to happen every week, but until we run out of good content, we'll just keep doing it. So this, and I don't want to
we're almost out of good content.
Our beer is a treasure trove. All of like the subreddits is a treasure trove of just goodness.
I do want to stress, I mean, we're sitting here with Busch Lattes just because it was mentioned on the podcast last week as we answered one of these things. I don't want this to become a trend in which we talk about something and then the next week we have to drink it, unless it's really good beer, in which case we'll do that.
It's fair,
but no more Busch Lights.
We'll see how this Q&A goes.
You pronounce it wrong. It's a latte.
Whatever. All right. I only got a couple this week. This is coming from user Eat Ass Not Grass.
Okay.
Which is going to be great. I also will go ahead, in addition to the title, I'll read the whole caption too. Actually, no, I decided not to do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that.
That's fair.
Just the title.
You want me to read it?
Going camping and want to know what's the best dark beer to get. That's it. That's the question.
That's it.
Yeah. So they're camping. So
Dark.
So there's a lot of ways
they
to
want.
approach
They
that.
want a dark beer when they camp, which
You
is
want high
weird,
ABV.
but okay.
You also don't want to necessarily carry a bottle around because when you drink the can, you can crush it and then put it back in your pack to pack out. So I'm thinking high ABV, and I'm thinking in an aluminum can. And since you're near a place where you want to hike, I'm also thinking like Asheville. What's the Oscar Blues, like really high ABV stout?
I mean, there's
Or Highwire, their 10W.
10W40.
Yeah, that's not bad.
also
So okay. So this I will go ahead and read this then. Trying to get into beer on a camping trip as opposed to getting shit-faced from liquor because that sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yada, yada, yada. A coffee-flavored dark beer I had at a diner once upon a time was what ultimately got me interested into giving beer another chance because I enjoyed it so much. If anyone knows solid or really good dark beers or ale,
Yeah.
or ale, that you could find at the grocery store or gas station that's affordable, I'd appreciate it. So that was the rest of the context.
there's no locale. Nothing.
Just dark beer, maybe
East Coast,
preferably,
West Coast.
maybe preferably coffee flavored and
Maybe an ale. If it's not
an
beer,
ale,
it's an
yeah.
ale.
Yeah.
And here, if you're in the Ohio Valley, I'll just if you're, I think tin cans are a prerequisite if you're camping. So I'll also shout out Against the Grain's 70K is a nice big stout you can take with you camping. Lots of chocolate, lots of coffee.
That's not canned.
Yes, they do can that.
No, it's bottles.
35K is
No, well, ask them to put it in a growler for you.
That's a bottle.
that's glass.
That's a giant
Crowler.
bottle.
Eat ass, not glass.
Yeah.
That's his username, right?
I default to Mile Wide Uncle Disheveled. It's
Also
like
a good move.
one of the best coffee beers out around. Fan favorite, one of my favorites. It's still on, and I love the joy of it is that they used to only do it once a year. Everyone bitched and moaned about it, which is rightfully so. It's very good. So now they have it like more often, but it's less popular, but I can always get it. So it's kind of selfishly like, this is great. I'm trying to think of like accessible coffee beers, like, because those don't seem to have like shelf life normally.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of ones that are Colorado or kind of West Coast.
I think we're just looking at this the wrong way, and the answer is none. If you're camping, why are you wanting? Why are you wanting to have a coffee beer when you go camping?
For the morning.
No, that's not what's going on. He wants to have it like in the middle of a hike or at the end of the day.
That's refreshing.
And I mean, yeah, sure. If he specifically said in the morning, but I feel like he would have mentioned that if that was the case. No, this dude, he just summited a peak on somewhere, and you know, he was just like, okay, cool. Let me crack open a nice lukewarm coffee beer. That's not going to get me shit faced.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to 10W40 from Highwire. That's mine. But yeah.
Just
also,
drink a Pilsner.
what did our friend just call his dry January experience?
Drunk January.
There's also something to be said for that. And your username thinks that suggests that might be applicable.
All right, but if you were to just, I guess, more of a national, Highwire is pretty big, sure. David, any thoughts on like a more widely available coffee, beer, or ale?
Yeah, I love the beer or ale comment. Sorry, nerd.
They don't see that many big loggers, to be fair, but you can get a
like
double.
now I'm in this context of like, how can I get this guy to fall back down the hill after he's climbed it?
Maybe we should suggest BIL for this gentleman.
No, I was gonna say more like Lagunitas, like Willetize.
Oh, there you go.
Giant bourbon barrel coffee stout.
I also like that he prefaced in that context. He was like trying to get into beer on a camping trip as opposed to getting shit faced from liquor because that sucked.
Yeah.
So like he
Yeah.
brought liquor on the camping trip
shit-faced.
before and got
Yeah.
shit faced and regretted it.
Yeah.
We're gonna make him regret the beer. Too.
Which, and by the way, I will say, like I've brought nice crispy boys on a camping trip before and overnight. But that being said, like I kind of like to bring a little flask of bourbon. That's my preference on an overnight trip.
I think that's why liquor was invented. Like
just so I could fall asleep. Yeah.
Just make it more portable.
Pop a couple Benadryls in and drink a flask of bourbon. Yep.
Sounds like my Saturday night.
All right.
Incredible. All right. So we
I'll
hope that
pass that
helps.
on.
We hope that helps.
The second one comes from user Sapernova 99913. Stout beers taste like soy sauce. What the fuck is going on?
Umame.
Why is he
So that-
drinking Dark Lord?
That goes back to that. Help me. Give me the correct pronunciation.
And there is an answer to this, by the way. I think. I mean, there was a discussion of why this is, but I thought it was funnier.
Of the caramelization process.
The
Maillard.
The Maillard reaction.
Oh yeah. So it's not that, but it is the Mallard reaction, which is when a duck gets into the mash tun. No, but it is that kind of caramelization of those long chain kind of starches. First they get caramelized, then they get really caramelized, and then they'll start to burn, which gives you the kind of like more chocolatey coffee kind of flavors. But right in that in-between point is where you kind of hit that umame territory, where it kind of gets soy saucy, honestly.
Very, very famously, Three Floyd's Dark Lord that they release once a year. That is mostly akin to soy sauce.
Yeah.
and
then-
some people have a huge affinity for it. And then they take several barrels of it and put adjuncts and other things into it. And those generally come out fantastic.
So it purposefully tastes like soy sauce. Is that the idea?
It's
And
not,
some of them add other adjuncts too that kind of, in my opinion, too, the yeast gets stressed out, and so you get a little bit of kind of a yeasty breadiness that kind of adds to that deep caramel flavor that kind of ends up tasting kind of.
sometimes purpose is not the same as consistent, and consistent would lean into purpose, and it's consistently been like that for several years.
Thank you, Confucius.
Wow.
That was very wise. That was very wise.
But I just if there is a brewery in Louisville that would make a soy sauce beer, who would it be? Soy sauce sour
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest.
on purpose.
Atrium. If they had like a deal with a sushi restaurant to have like a night, Spencer could crank out a good soy sauce beer if he wanted
There's
to.
no such thing as a good soy sauce.
If you had an
beer.
intention for it, you absolutely could make a good soy sauce beer.
If I got a A5 Wagyu and poured my soy sauce beer over it,
I think we're onto something actually. Like that could actually be really good.
no more free ideas.
But no, at the end of the day, it's just that advanced caramelization that is almost scorched, but not quite. It just ends up in that kind of savory category. And I think that blends with a few other notes that like it's usually higher ABV, which kind of lends itself to yeast producing a little bit more like esters, just those kind of like bready, fruity qualities that all kind of comes together to give it that umame kind of flavor. So I hope that's helpful.
Do you like umami?
Also, some people add soy sauce to their beer. Don't tell anybody. Not really. So there was one other question people have been asking. This wasn't on Reddit, but this was just in the hearts and minds of the listeners, which is, it is hot as heck. If the audio quality is not as good as it was last week, we do have the AC pumping, and it's still a little bit swarm in here.
Perfect time for a good coffee beer.
I'm
I'm
sweating.
Yeah, exactly. So do you guys have like summer beer spots that you like to go to around town? Like when it's hot as hell, or when you're just kind of out living life in Louisville or anywhere you travel? Have you ever had like a great summer beer experience? That sounds kind of weird, but you know what I'm getting at.
Hot beer summer.
Yeah, it's hot. Yeah. What does hot beer bro summer look like to you guys?
I'm not going to say around town, but just in general, what I've learned about myself recently after a trip to Asheville, and also just harkening back to other, beer vacations in the past. Anything that has like a farm environment to it.
Oh, for sure.
So locally we have West 6 in Frankfurt, the West 6 farm.
Yep.
In Asheville, Fontaflora had a farm that I really enjoyed. Scratch in Illinois, they have that whole, atmosphere. Jester
Farm
King.
to glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, the thing that you can go, like, honestly, the shittier the picnic table, the better.
Yeah. Especially if there's like a big breezeway where you just sit outside. It can be 95. Yesterday was a perfect example of it. Yesterday? I can't remember days anymore, but it was 95 or so degrees here in Louisville, but we had 20% humidity. There was a breeze and it was great. It was fun. Today, it's like the same temperature. It's like 70% humidity because it is the Ohio Valley, folks. And it's kind of miserable outside. You like have to push things out of your way while you're walking, which is the air. So anywhere you can get kind of out of the city corridor and get some kind of breeze blowing through you, get a little bit of kind of tree vibes, nature things rustling through the grass.
Yeah. I think you took my answer on the farm side. I was going to say Texas because it's like a heat, but it's a little dry, and the capacity out there, it's all very open and kind of like farmland. You said Jester King already. I mean, places like Live Oak or Austin Beer Garden Brewing, where it's just like there's patio, get too hot, you walk inside, chill out, have some food, go back in. I will second that with places that, Austin in general, but places that have water. So maybe like Seattle, if you want to go out to like Pike Place and walk along the market there. You got, cold water off the coast, and then, a nice little breeze coming through, and you can just chill out. And honestly, like the best beer for heat is just the one that quenches your thirst.
Yes.
that was such a thing a week ago when it was, heat index of 109 here. And it's like, I haven't drank anything in the last 3 days, but like this beer might be the best beer ever because it's just so cold, so good, so crisp.
I have I have three shout outs for this one. So number one, like you just said, light. I'll do two quickly and then one that we can pontificate on if we want. Light tart sour, kind of like a light Gosa or even a light Berliner, something with a little bit of acidity in it, just for some reason is very thirst quenching, as like a lawnmower beer or whatever. So anywhere you can kind of go to get a little bit of a tart boy, but not super sour.
I like the salty aspect of
that. Yeah. A little bit of salt too. Like we said last week with the Fall City beer, those electrolytes coming in to help replenish your nervous system and whatnot. Number two, micheladas. Buy some cheap Mexican cerveza, or even better, get a locally made Mexican cerveza. Get your favorite kind of like Bloody Mary mix or Clamato, or I like the Zing Zang Bloody Mary mix. Figure out your own proportions, but just a little bit of Bloody Mary mix dumped into a very light kind of Mexican or American style lager. Super good for hot days. Number three shout out, and this is the one we can talk about. So my girlfriend Courtney, shout out. Friend of the show. Just recently
does Courtney listen to this?
Oh fuck no, absolutely not. She makes a point not to. I think sometimes she hears snippets when I'm editing and she just shakes her head and walks by. But she took a trip to the Caribbean, and down there it's a thing that people do, and I guess this happens everywhere, but you can get like pool bars where you can be in a pool and then just kind of go up to a bar and get a beer or a drink or anything. Louisville, who is going to be the brewery that opens up the first pool bar? And against the grain, are you going to buy Turner's and turn it into a pool bar?
Okay,
that's really what I want to know here.
Turner's would be the place to do it. I don't know.
Have you ever done a pool bar? I've not.
Actually, I want to say that I have, but it's been, you know what? I was somewhere when I was like 18 in South Carolina, and I did it. I wasn't supposed to because I was 18.
That was back in the 70s. It was legal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, it's a really cool concept, and that should happen eventually. But that'd be interesting though, just to have a temporary like brewery tap room somewhere by a pool.
On a barge.
Or we mentioned against the grain, but maybe Atrium, when they do expand, could buy Shelby Park and turn it back into the old like pool complex.
Oh yeah.
And they could put a little Atrium tiki bar. Oh my gosh, this actually is
no more free ideas.
Yeah, this is Louisville intellectual property.
One last free idea. Who's going to be the first brewery to brew a beer on the bill of Louisville?
Ooh,
that's some BrewDog shit.
It's a steam engine.
Steam beer.
No, we can't call it that because that's legally owned by.
Oh, you're
Steam.
right. Yeah. we could rant about that. Maybe we'll save that for a few. We'll
and that's like
save that for when we hook up the collab.
That's the Jefferson's Ocean story too.
Oh yeah,
It's the barrels on the boat that
Yeah,
they
you're
send
right.
across the Atlantic.
because and
All
also
right, I'm cutting
the
all
waves.
this. This is all going into Louisville Ale Trail intellectual property subfolder.
No, just for the waves of the ocean. It sloshes around the juice in the barrel.
Yeah, dude.
And then like it gives you more contact with the barrel, so it ages faster. In a
Shipping
different
Port
way.
has a beer called Eddie, so all I'm saying is Shipping Port would make sense for that, in my opinion. But again, we're not going to release this to the public.
Yeah,
This
because
is all
it's
getting
called
archived.
Eddie. That's why.
Yeah, that goes around and around and around.
Yeah, it's an eddy.
If you watched the episodes 5 times ago,
Yeah.
I asked about that.
I remember. I watched the episodes. Believe it or not. All right.
I will, just to put a bow on this,
Sure.
I will say another place locally that has that atmosphere of just like go outside when you feel like going outside because it's nice and spacious, but then inside. Floyd County Brewing Company,
Hometown
Yeah.
Brewing Company.
also that.
As
But-
you hold up a Busch Latte.
But
No,
no,
yeah, Floyd County's awesome.
Floyd County, like it's a music venue and beer garden,
Renaissance Festival venue.
Renaissance Festival venue, which is amazing. But yeah, like they have like 2 different spots you can go inside and have a beer, but then also you can go outside in the beer garden and just enjoy the huge gravel space.
Yeah.
If there's a show going on, that'd be cool too. But like I said earlier, this is my theory. Just the worse in shape the picnic tables and umbrellas are, the more I want to have a beer there.
And while we're just, if we're going to recognize Southern Indiana, let's shout out the supporter of Louisville Ale Trail, Upland Brewery. If you can't get a better, just sit on a patio in a hot day with a river breeze than sitting on the deck at Upland. Yeah, that's
It's a good view of Louisville.
it's beautiful. All right. Well, speaking of Louisville, there are some fun events going on around town. Is that a good segue? Just speaking of Louisville. Did I ruin it by asking you guys if it was a good segue?
You're doing that thing where you talk about the thing.
I can't. Okay. Someday I'll stop doing it, but only when it stops annoying you guys. We have a few good events going on. David, if you want to take the lead on this segment, we can jump in here where we can. But I think Holsopple was the first one coming up, right?
No, that's not correct.
All right. Well, go ahead, sir.
The first thing coming up in Louisville this weekend is this is for July.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
This is why we're here, folks. this is the quality content that you've
Well,
asked for.
since I put together this outline and read of show, I can talk about some of these things, and then David, if you'd like to talk about something else, it's going to happen after Monday. Do you have anything to share with the class?
No.
This is so well produced. This is why people listen to this.
My segment's going to be great, which is coming up next.
We have this fancy new audio and these fantastic new chairs. We're almost there.
Yeah, now we just need Patreon dollars to hire new hosts.
Like what
And we
other
will be in good shape.
other podcasts that you listen to do live producing right here? And guess what? They probably cut it out. We don't cut this out. This is
No.
all for your enjoyment. I'm so sorry though. Anyway, yeah, we're close to the 4th of July stuff, and Holsopple I think usually has annually their big red, white, and brews bash.
We shouting out places with good outdoor spaces. That rhymed, and I didn't really mean for it to.
You're a
But-
poet and you didn't even know it.
Oh, that's good. Holsopple is another one of those places where you can go drink a beer inside, outside. It's a great place to hang out, especially on the 4th of July.
Sure. Let's talk about that actually for a quick second, because like during COVID, they put up this giant tent
Yeah.
in the outside of their parking lot.
Massive.
Matt, it's a circus tent.
It's
guys.
like as
It
big
is
as their
huge.
tap room, if not bigger.
It is huge. And then they added a secondary, smaller tent right next to it as well.
That's the adult tent.
And it's just still there. Like I guess they bought it. I hope they did. I hope they're not paying like
Improvise, adapt, overcome, never go back.
I know they bought it, and I will say it provides excellent shade from the sun. They also built a stage out there, so now they have live music.
Yeah.
They really took COVID very appropriately, very seriously, in my opinion, and they learned how to make their business work around that. At one point, there was a drive-through for
Yeah.
Holsopple
Yep.
to come and pick up beer. So, for a lot of places that struggled, totally understand that. But for a lot of places that adapted, I totally admire that so much.
Yeah. And Holsopple is one of the best examples. Well, everybody did great, but Holsopple really did buy a lot of tents and put them in their parking lot.
Because to your point, like there's an outdoor area that people flock to and go to and hang out in, but it is just a parking lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you don't even notice, like you just look past that because
It used to be just a parking lot.
because there's like a giant stage there and lights and speakers, and there's a giant circus tent around you, and like some jugglers and clowns might come out sometime.
They had
It's-
an elephant once.
Probably it's Linden, things happen. Point is the Linden neighborhood brewery. And so if you can imagine a holiday in Linden for the neighborhood, for the family,
Yeah.
their Red, White, and Brews Bash, it's a big one.
Yeah.
People will come out, and they're not even usually open on Mondays, but they're going to be open that specific Monday on July 4th. They're going to have a good time. They're going to get everybody to come in.
And you don't have to worry about the tap room getting packed because there will be a ton of tent space outside.
They got food now.
Yeah.
Twin Spire Pizza.
Yeah.
Because, pizza and breweries.
Make perfect sense. Oh, why hasn't anybody thought of this before? Another cool thing we have coming up.
I can talk about this one.
Go ahead.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
David.
Thank you for throwing it over to me.
Yeah.
Live producing.
Live producing. Every month we do a local industry meetup. If you're around, it's called Trail Tuesday. It's on a Tuesday once a month, and
Unless it's on Friday.
unless it's on Friday. But we really do extend the invite into the community. Anybody in the beer, spirits, or just hobbyist world, whatever, come out, come hang out with us. We'll be at Gordon Biersch this month, which is on 4th Street. And we'll be hanging out there, probably drinking one of Nick's best Hefeweizens or Czech Pilsners.
Crystal Weissen is my
Yeah.
jam from them.
Yeah.
And their Pilsners, obviously.
I like that you just said what I said, but that's cool.
Crystal Weissen, totally different from Hefeweizen.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Yeah, sure.
Gordon Biersch has this weird perception locally, and I guess nationally as well, for being a quote unquote corporate brewery.
Kind of like what's that
oh.
thing in the mall? BJ's.
Yeah, but do they even
No.
BJ's even brew? Yeah,
They might somewhere contract brew beer, but I don't think they make beer
don't-
on site.
Not on site. But yeah, it's a chain. I don't
Mhm.
want to go there. It's a chain. Guess what, guys? Nick, he's local. He's making good beer.
Yeah,
for,
he's one of the
for
best
everybody.
brewers of all styles, but he's one of those people who can do classic lagers like
But, well,
almost nobody
The
else.
thing is, they are a chain.
Yeah, they are a
That's-
chain.
They
For
are
sure.
a thing. But Nick, time and time again, has proven what he can do, and his recipes actually make it into the fold of what Gordon Biersch is, making it for Louisville, just unique. Like, you can go
Yeah.
to Gordon Biersch anywhere. They have to brew so many recipes that are kind of passed down from corporate. As anyone who brews any beer ever knows, you can have a recipe,
Oh yeah,
you can have every ingredient, every detail, and it will probably come out a little different, just due to any number of millions of factors.
how well you clean your system afterwards, how clean your tap lines are,
The
how
water.
well the water, the
But
fermentation control. Yeah,
he does have a degree of creative liberty there, and it does make things so much better.
yeah. And honestly, the food down there is good too.
Oh,
So-
yeah, the food's great.
I just have a well, it's not a chip on my shoulder. I guess I don't really care that much, but I do hear people say, "Oh, it's a chain. Why would I go there?" Because Nick's a good guy.
Yeah.
There are good people that work there that live here locally.
And truly, Nick's part of the beer community. He gives people recipe advice. He teaches. We do with the homebrew club, pre-COVID, the last one. But anyway, Bruins down on 4th Street. Nick heats up a whole bunch of water in the hot liquor tank, runs big old hoses out to that little kind of corridor along 4th Street. He'll fill up your ton for you, and then a dozen or 2 dozen people, depending on the year, homebrewers in the community and the Loggers Homebrew Club will brew a batch of beer, do a contest, and then Nick, I think he let them pick the best one, and then he brewed it up on a big batch for him. So huge part of the local homebrew community as well.
And in a note on chains.
Yeah.
Chains are chains. They're consistent, but they're employed locally.
Yeah.
And they're consistent. What is a part of a chain called a link? Nick's a good link. He links people together through beer. He's a link in a chain. Anyway,
It's a link to the past.
Yeah. Good NES reference. Any other notes on Trail Tuesday? This is our best podcast yet. The chairs have ruined us.
So cushy and everything feels good.
Yeah,
we're just so comfortable that like we're listening to the sound of our voices.
I'm also
we're
like
just
slightly
like
falling
yes.
asleep. I'm so comfy.
And we're so comfortable, and we're just like, you know what, guys, just relax. Who cares about the flow of the podcast?
It's actually an ASMR podcast.
Speaking of ASMR and just kind of like having very experiential, that was another segue. Did you like it? Was it good? Was it better? All right. Just kind of taking things in through all of your senses. There's a really cool thing coming to Louisville. You guys have probably seen it on your social media, and maybe you've even experienced it in Indianapolis or Cincinnati.
Amsterdam,
yeah. The Van Gogh experience. Is that the correct terminology for what it is? The interactive
it's
beyond Van Gogh. Thank you very much, David. This is why you're here. It's coming to Louisville, the convention center, and it starts, I think, 7/1. Is that right?
7/6.
That's why you're here, Michael. Thank you very much. It starts on 7/6. We're gonna take notes. But yeah, if you guys haven't done this in other cities, if you haven't ever experienced it before, we could try to sum it up for you, but they basically take over a gigantic space.
Yeah, maybe next week.
They bring in all these projectors, and they just project Van Gogh art everywhere. So it's almost like you're walking into a Van Gogh painting. That's going to be opening up. So I think tickets are going to go. Book your tickets now, and then we'll spill the beans on this maybe next week. But we also have a beer collaboration with the Beyond Van Gogh experience, or whatever the terminology is there, and a local brewery that we're very excited to share with you guys too. So just mark that on your calendar, because I have a feeling tickets are going to be kind of hard to get.
Maybe we'll have better details next week.
Well, yeah. Well, wasn't that enough to kind of,
it's a good tease. Yeah, we'll it's fine.
Yeah,
but it is July 6th through September 3rd. I got that.
Perfect.
Right.
So anyway, all I'm saying is put that on your calendar, because
get in your van and go.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't done it, you should do it. It's really, really cool, especially if you do kind of like art.
You also have to understand that another thing that we're struggling with right now is that it's like 95 degrees outside, and we had to turn the AC off to not get the background noise. And we're all starting to sweat.
It's very warm,
and it's getting to our head.
We don't have a guest to just like talk.
Top 5 podcasts for sure. But that's fine. Hey guys, we're just so happy to be here right now. We're having fun.
I think we should skip to industry news.
This is like some of the nice things about like hanging and working with your friends, is that you can have a podcast, and like sometimes like you just kind of cut
go
back.
with it.
You don't have to be so serious and be like, oh well, what is the weather like in Zimbabwe today?
That was the next segment. Do you have that one ready to go? So did you? I don't know. You guys. I don't know how tuned you all are into like the homebrew beer nerds, beer whatever community.
It's so hot.
It's really hot in here. Yeah. Do you want to risk the audio quality and turn on the AC?
No, just go.
Finish.
No, I'm turning on the AC.
It's not worth it.
All right, make small talk.
We're just gonna cut this. Please cut this.
We can cut it.
I will cut
well, we get to the beers we brought are sweating.
Yeah,
and that's kind of enough of a.
All right, David, talk about this. Whatever you.
I do actually want to drink this. So, dear friend of the show, Ricky brought me some beers back from Asheville, North Carolina. This is what we would call a living lager, which means it's can conditioned, from Zillicoah Brewing Company. Zillicoah Beer Company, Woodfin, North
I thought
Carolina.
I brought that.
No, I got it today.
Oh,
Did you think that you had this?
yeah, because I brought some back with me last week, and I brought some last week.
Well, Ricky brought this to me today.
Whoa.
Funny how worlds intertwine. This is the Kellerpils. If you're unfamiliar with the Kellerpils, it is basically a tank beer, where it's either served out of the tank or a bottled can completely out of the tank. And that kind of goes back to the can conditioning, where they'll have a little bit of some live ingredient in there to kind of keep that fermentation and carbonation kicking for a little while.
It is really funny, because I was here at Zillicoah in Asheville about like 2 weeks ago almost.
What are these paper towels?
And the paper towels are to wipe your sweat off your own brow. Now, if you're talking about a place that has like a cool outside area, though, going back, Zillicoah is awesome for that. I mean, and that's most Asheville brewery. Like, you can just go there and post up and have a couple beers out in the sun and in the shade, and just enjoy the environment that you're in. I could have swore this is a beer that I brought, though. Like the entire time I was thinking about it, or I saw it like on the table waiting for us. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I brought that last week. And we just didn't get into it. So that's fun.
I've never had this. Does anyone? I feel like Chimera maybe made a Kellerpils at one point, or False Idol.
They make a Keller beer.
Keller beer. Okay,
Yeah.
so what the difference is? This is a lager.
No, they're both lagers.
Okay.
I think it's probably branding at this point, but most Keller lagers are going to be Pilsner malt anyways.
That's very, very nice. Yeah, I really, really like that. It's like light and bright like a Pilsner would be, but it's got that little bit of like funkiness.
Yeah.
You don't taste it even as much as you smell it. It's just,
It's more of a feeling.
yeah, it's more of a feeling. And I hate to use the word cheesy to describe beers, but you get that little bit of like Parmesan rind, kind of like funky weirdness in the nose. Is that just me?
Speaking of peeling, I can feel my shirt peeling.
Yeah.
Away from my
It is very hot in here, guys. My glasses are completely steamed up for you all on our Patreon.
Do you want me to read this industry news since you don't have it?
No, I have. Are you guys ready to go into industry news?
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Really.
I'm ready.
I mean, you're the host this week,
Yeah,
John.
you host.
This episode is your episode in particular.
Oh my God, this is a train wreck.
So just so we're all aware, this is John's episode.
So do you guys know who Jamil Zainasheff is?
Yeah, he's the author.
Yeah. So, okay. That's a great point that we'll come back to at the end. For those of you who don't know, Jamil Zainasheff is a guy who's been around for a long time in the homebrew community and then the broader beer community in general. His the thing that most of us know him for is writing the book Brewing Classic Styles, which is more or less kind of a Bible. I won't say the Bible because there's a lot of good literature out there. But yeah, David has the book. He literally wrote the book on kind of how to formulate recipes that are going to kind of be award winning. They all actually are award winning recipes that he kind of compiled from different sources and brewed and perfected over the years. He in 2010 or 11, I believe, finally kind of got out of just being like a beer scientist, beer writer, kind of homebrew extraordinaire, and opened a brewery called Heretic, which is in California. It's like halfway between San Francisco and like Sacramento. So kind of that West Coast beer vibe or whatever. Very, very, very well respected brewery. Back in the day, the first time I ever heard about it was I think I heard about it watching maybe Where the News Broke, which was on Brewing TV, which was like a homebrew kind of YouTube show made by...
Is that on Hulu?
No, Hulu didn't even exist back then, I don't think. It was made by Chip Walton, whose current YouTube channel is Chop and Brew, shout out. But who, with Northern Brewer, back when they were with their original ownership before they sold and then resold or whatever it is now. But they did a little kind of YouTube side thing called Brewing TV, and Jamil was one of their kind of regular guests that would come on and talk. Jamil's also been like everywhere. You've seen him and heard him talk on like the Brewing Network, on the Beersmith podcast, like everywhere, literally everywhere, in addition to all his like blogs and books and whatnot. So Heretic was always like a thing that was close to the homebrewer and beer nerd's heart. They always made really good beer, very true to style, but then also like just solid out there kind of wild beers. Kind of out of the blue, on the 20th of June, put out a statement on his social media with really no preface. Just says, new owners of Heretic Brew have terminated my employment to, quote, save money, end quote. I no longer have any involvement with what they produce or how the business is run. So he just kind of blasted that out on Twitter, on Facebook, on everywhere he's on social media, and didn't really give much commentary. So that was kind of wild for those of us kind of who have been following along with kind of the beer nerd or beer industry kind of like
For over 10 years.
darlings. Yeah, for over 10 years. We mentioned kind of the history. So that was kind of weird. I did a little bit of digging, and he did sell his stake. It sounds like in maybe like November of 2021, him and his wife, who had been kind of the owners basically since day one back in 2010 of the brewery, to a company called the Craft Beer Cooperative, who I think maybe owns them and maybe owns also Moab. That was the only things that they really advertised. So that might be their entire portfolio. But I did dig up a statement that he wrote back on homebrewtalk.com when that sale went through. And it said the following: I've had some friends ask about Heretic. Liz and I have sold all of our interest in Heretic to a group that's working on building a joint cooperative of breweries in the West. Yes, Liz and I could have continued on as financial stakeholders of Heretic, but the pandemic and my health issues have made us think that we're getting too old to have our life savings tied up in a brewery. It was a lot less stressful when we only had 5 people on the payroll, but some things will change. But Liz and I remain with the company and still work every day at making Heretic as great as we can. So that was from back when the kind of ownership transfer took place. Now they just laid him off to save money. Was
he suggesting that breweries don't make money?
Well, maybe. Yeah. That, I mean, you know, you're not raking it in, but you can turn a successful. You can turn a profit and run a business. But yeah, no statements from Heretic or the Craft Beer Cooperative, which is the ownership company, have been issued thus far. This podcast has not reached out for content or for comment, rather.
We haven't reached out for content either.
Yeah, well, clearly. But I don't know. I don't know how much you guys know about the whole, how much does that resonate with you all? Kind of being of the younger. You guys probably don't even really know who Jamil Zainasheff is. Not really somebody who's important to you.
He's an author.
I've not been intimate with Jamil.
Okay. You're on the VU, not to tie the French back in.
I'm not discounting anything he's done for beer. Obviously sounds incredibly pedigreed. Everything I'm saying right now is ignorant, just on the fact. But seeing people that were, so passionate and in love with this industry 10 years ago being exited does raise red flags about where we're headed, what's changed, and the goals of craft beer as a whole. Maybe.
Yeah, that kind of resonates how I felt about it as well. You have any thoughts on it, Michael?
Their social media sucks. That's my thought.
So that was what I was going to say here too. So you're the PR dude. If you were the PR agency representing them when they fired kind of the guy who was their person, wouldn't you want to get ahead of that? Wouldn't you release a statement before you had an opportunity for the person to just put you on blast on social media? Say something, or maybe not, but whatever. So no additional details have really been released as far as I've been able to find. There was some online speculation about whether the parting was amicable. The phrasing of his thing makes it sound not great. And then there were also people speculating about if he had gotten paid out fully or if he was. Yeah,
there are ways to go about that. So in general, PR stuff aside, in general, their social sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter and Facebook have both gone months without really posting anything. They're pretty active on Instagram. The last thing that they posted was 5 days ago about bratwurst specials. So some news since then. If I was in their spot, they have a distillery too, by the way. So they have some
Heretic Brewery and Distillery.
They have some money, presumably. If it were me, this is not legal advice.
Nope.
This is PR advice, but also you shouldn't take it. It's all just dependent on what you need to do. Figure out a way to have these conversations before they get into the public eye.
Yeah.
There should not be statements from one side and then a statement from the other. It should be a mutually agreed upon statement. In most cases, that's going to mean somebody's coming to the table. So maybe he came to the table as hey, I'm not happy. I need to leave. But maybe let's figure out some way to say this, and I'll stick around for the next month. Well, if we find a new replacement or whatever. The other way, if they did want to let him go for reasons, pay him out. I mean, just make sure hey, we want to do this clean. Let's part mutually. Not everybody can do that.
It makes me wonder what the business looks like on the back end, because you have it's the fact that the word "save money" was in quotes is ugh, what's going on here? Yeah.
When things get nasty publicly, it's not really good for anybody.
It's not.
I mean, unless that's there are exceptions to that rule in certain cases, and as we've seen in the last year or so. But
are you talking about Donald Trump?
No, I'm talking about issues within within the beer industry itself.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Are you suggesting that the bratwurst night didn't go over as well as they planned?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Actually, they had this big bratwurst night on the books.
Actually, let's play that game for a second. There are 2 comments on that bratwurst night. And I'm really glad I just brought this game up. First comment on the bratwurst post. You're canceled, sis.
Because they fired Jamil?
That's from...
Is it from today?
John M164. That's 13 hours ago.
Okay, wow. The news is spreading.
And then 2 days ago, and this got 3 likes, guys. So, whew. This has come from Wildcard Zone. I have to say that if Jamil isn't involved with the company anymore, I have much less interest in Heretic. Shame you couldn't keep him around.
Wow.
But
So
that guy sounds like he does like bratwurst, though.
he commented
So,
on the
like,
post.
I really wish I could get some bratwurst, but like
Any engagement is good engagement. I'll wrap it up. But anyway, so I haven't. Jamil hasn't really said much more. He replied to a few people who were commenting on his posts, and the general vibe was that he's kind of like ready to just kind of take more time to travel. He mentioned taking more time to write another book, which people have been dogging him about for years, and hopefully to create more media. Anybody who's gotten into brewing, seriously, I guarantee you, has read a Jamil book or listened to a podcast. He's had a couple podcasts of his own in the past that are just like amazing resources. He's one of the best beer communicators out there. There are the, kind of founders of the homebrewing or beer culture vibe, like Charlie Papazian or John Palmer. One of the next people that I would think to put on that list would be Jamil Zainasheff. So if this gets him out of a role where he was kind of, if he sold his interest in it, and if this is kind of finally a way to put a pin in that chapter and kind of move on to the next thing, then I think that's fantastic.
Much better.
Yeah. Especially with the way that they handled this. So I got 2 comments kind of from people digging that kind of illuminated 2 sides of this. I'll read them quickly, and then we'll put this segment to bed and hopefully this podcast. So from user Mashpaddle on homebrewtalk.com, not surprised. I don't mean to pile on to my past comment, but what is a conglomerate trying to brew beer in 2022 going to do with a guy who brewed beer like it was 20 years ago? Which... there are financial interests motivated by selling as much beer as they can and as fast as they can. An 80 IBU IPA just isn't a seller these days. Jamil opened Heretic 10 years too late and basically sold beer based on who he was, which hasn't been a thing for a long time. I hope he moves on to an area of the beer or homebrewing industry where he can be passionate again and balance his life against his career. He still has enough cachet to reinvent himself in the industry if he wants to, but he always seemed a little half disinterested by the time that Heretic finally opened.
Yeah, why no lactose and adjunct stouts?
He makes great beer. I mean, I haven't had a Heretic beer for a long time, but everyone I've ever had, I've always thought 10 out of 10, like amazingly good. So to that point, there's another comment from user Sweet Cell on the same thread on Homebrew Talk. IMMA, gonna disagree with you about Jamil brewing beer that is out of date, unwanted, etc. His production has been growing year over year. That doesn't happen if you brew stuff that no one wants. For us homebrewers, we think Heretic equals Jamil. For the 99+% of the country that doesn't homebrew, Heretic is just another craft brewery. It's that overwhelming majority that drives sales, not us Jamil worshippers. I completely agree that the new owners are interested in selling as much product as possible. If they decide that keeping Jamil around isn't going to further this goal, they're absolutely within their rights to dismiss him. The issue here to me is how he was dismissed. I'm sure Jay-Z, not the rapper, Jamil Zainasheff, would have liked Heretic to continue successfully into the future. So the fact that he is completely distancing himself from this former baby is very telling. My final thought, what's going to be important to the upcoming generation of beer lovers? Does this matter? Does this not matter? Why do people choose to drink the beer that they drink? Nostalgia? Is it the actual product? Is it like the social influence? Is it what beers are hot on TikTok? Any final thoughts before we sign off this steamy episode?
It matters to us, maybe, because it is something that we are ingrained in and that we're just like a part of. We have memories tied to all these places, to all these different beers. And so it just means more. That's the SEC saying it just means more.
I'm gonna like copy a TikTok trend right now and just say like If the beer is a 5, but the patio is good, it's a 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the beer is a 7 and the bartender's bad, it's a 5.
Yeah.
So all these things factor in. You know, it doesn't, you know, there's some like stock in like old styles, etc. But if you have like the coolest venue ever, you know, around, the experience is going to make up for what you might not appreciate about the beer, whether you like it or not.
I agree completely. So it's not really one thing. It's not a 5-star. The 5-star rating system maybe has screwed up all of our brains. It's a holistic experience to drink a beer with friends.
I think if you get 5 stars, you've achieved like 5 different levels of success.
Yeah, it's all you're firing on all different cylinders right now. It's experiential. It's a good beer. The service didn't suck.
Yeah.
It was a nice day outside. I mean,
people around you, you know, it was crowded, or, you know, not crowded or cozy, whatever. It's
because the average person doesn't give a shit about who the brewer is. Like,
no.
I would actually say that, like, if you're the general population and you know who your brewer is, it's probably either a very good thing or a very, very bad thing.
That's my final thought, and we can sign off the episode with this. But to me, what makes that like brand that you really get connected to, I always preach to you guys about like the 300 raving customers. The thing about like Jamil and Heretic that maybe got them going was that he had that following. He had those 300 and more, like people that were very committed to the brand. So figuring out how your business is going to connect with 300 people or more who are just going to be there every Friday night and who are going to become the people who tell their friends about it. And, you know, the people who just say that your product is the best because X, Y, and Z. Figuring out X, Y, and Z is the hard part. But that's what we're here trying to do for Louisville Beer.
But also figure out if your business can operate on 300 raving fans or if they need 1,500 raving fans.
Sure. And that just depends on what your business is going to look like.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for wrapping that up for a third time.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Just one last final comment.
Sure.
That was sarcasm.
Okay. Do you guys have anything you want to plug this week other than me getting a bigger air conditioner?
I'll plug real quick another brewery with pizza.
Yeah.
That seems to be a theme. Noble Funk Brewing.
Yeah.
In the Sobro neighborhood, right down the road. Incredible pizza, great atmosphere. They've been doing a variety of styles, so it seems to be rotating every time I go in there. Drop in, have something different.
I didn't have anything beer related prepared necessarily, but I did pick up a book that I haven't read since freshman year of high school. And that is a wild book called House of Leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Z. Danielewski. Came out in like 2000, I think. And it is a book unlike any book you've ever read before. It's a story within a story within a story. It's about this tattoo artist who's talking about this manuscript that he found. And the manuscript is about a documentary. And the documentary is about a house that's bigger on the inside than on the outside. And there are certain characters that have different font colors in it. And some pages have footnotes, and the footnotes have footnotes.
Wow.
And some pages only have like 3 words on it, and they're being chased in the book. So you have to keep flipping the pages over and over again to kind of like simulate that chase scene. It is a wild book. I was way too young when I first picked it up. It's a big guy, but it's definitely one of the most creative pieces out there, especially considering that it came out like just 22 years ago. So U.S. American novel, really interesting.
All right. So Michael's been doing drugs. I'll just shout out any of Jamil Zainasheff's books, Brewing Classic Styles. It's not a good read, but it's, if you want just a place to start with learning what goes into any of the beer styles that you love, pick up some of his books in honor of whatever's coming next for somebody that in this industry is one of the greats. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us through this trial and tribulation. It's like literally 92 degrees in here right now. There's not enough Busch Latte in the world to cool off these 3 beer-loving gentlemen, but we do it all for you. And for those of you on our Patreon, thank you. We can do one more squeak out, squeakless, rotating squeak for the audience. For everybody else, we really appreciate you guys listening. Wherever you are, it's only one quick click away to give us like a quick 5-star review. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys again next week. All right.
It is a lot cooler if you take the headphones off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
We couldn't have done it like that.